You guys, we're experiencing something historic, never seen before, something we'll look back at when we're old and gray and think, wow, it was really something special that we just witnessed. The Pacers done it again, and I don't know how many times they're going to keep doing this. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I said it all the way back in round one when the Pacers barely beat the Bucks in the game-clinching series. They can't keep getting lucky like this. Against the Cavs, after they did it to the Cavs, I said their luck cannot keep happening like this. They did it to the Knicks, game one. It won't happen against the Thunder. Thunder are too good of a defensive team to let that happen. And just like that, we see it in game one. And let's just all agree, if you're a Thunder fan, if you're a Pacers fan especially, if you're just a fan of basketball in general, this is amazing to watch. What a game to start off the finals. We're going to get into everything, how the Pacers made this comeback, how the Pacers honestly could win game two, because the Pacers did not play a good game, especially in the first half, and what OKC needs to do to readjust, and just Haliburton's crazy historic run he's going on right now. So let's start off with how the game started, and let's just go over the game. I'm going to do it quarter by quarter, and then we'll go over just the impact of the rest of the series and what Haliburton's doing, which is crazy. So the game started. I didn't end up seeing the first two baskets. I was walking my dog really, really quick. I was running, sprinting to the house, trying to get in to watch the game. And right from the get-go, OKC's defense was just swarming Indiana. OKC looked more comfortable for a team that's very young and hasn't really been here and done that. They looked pretty comfortable. Now, offensively, they weren't the best, but they were doing decent enough. But their defense was swarming. They were forcing turnovers, forcing Indiana to feel uncomfortable. Siakam, I think, really helped Indiana in this first quarter. Siakam, who's been in the finals before, back in 2019 with the Raptors and Kawhi, he really helped them stay afloat in this first quarter because they were after the first quarter was only 20-29. It could have been much worse if you watched that first quarter. The way the Thunder's defense was making Indiana just play so horribly. Haliburton struggled to start, and Obi Toppin had a couple of bad turnovers to start. But Siakam kept them in it to where it was only 9 points, and I think that was important. I think Siakam and Caruso, who also played in the finals back in 2020 with the Lakers, they're going to be really important for these teams because the rest of the teams don't have really any playoff experience. I think Thomas Bryant played with the Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2023, but I don't think he really played in the finals. Correct me if I'm wrong down below. So I think Siakam really did a good job helping this team just calm down and getting them some timely buckets in the first quarter because it could have been a blowout from the first quarter. And I'm not saying the Pacers would have lost the game, but he kept it to only 9 points. So I think that was important. Going to the second quarter, it was a lot of the same, really. Pacers struggling. They were hitting more shots, I feel like, but they were still struggling with the Thunder's defense. And there was a run towards the end of the second quarter with maybe 3 minutes left that it felt like play after play after play, the Pacers kept making turnovers. And it's not like they were even bad plays necessarily. The Thunder were just swiping at balls, They were getting the 50-50s. They were doing everything right. And at the half, Pacers were down by, I believe, 12, 13, 14. So it wasn't terrible considering that OKC were getting offensive rebounds, they were winning the 50-50 balls, and they were winning the turnover game for sure in the first half. And they were only down by 14 points, 12 points. So I think that was a testament to the Pacers for staying in it. But also the Thunder were not hitting on the offensive end. They really struggled again. And this has been their thing and have kept them in games where they should be winning. Is their offense is very inconsistent. SGA was the only real consistent threat OKC had tonight. And we'll get into that later. But yeah, so my thought was after the first half that the Pacers, if they could slow down the turnovers, I think they had 20 almost in the first half, which was the most ever this whole season by any team, regular season or postseason. I was thinking if the Pacers can just slow it down, ironically, slow it down, get back to your brand of basketball, stop causing turnovers, and then start playing in transition, start playing fast, they would be fine. Third quarter happens. They did much better. OKC didn't get to the foul line as much, but OKC were hitting more shots in the third, I felt like. And so OKC was still up by, I think, 10 going into the fourth quarter. And this is where it got interesting. I think OKC at the 10-minute mark were up by like 14 points, 15 points. And they were making a run. It felt like it was getting out of hand for Indiana. But Indiana stayed with it, hitting timely shots, especially from the 5-minute mark onwards. They were hitting timely shots, making the right plays, getting offensive rebounds. Siakam had a couple very good hustle plays in the fourth quarter. And just like that, it's a close game. It's like a 4-point game with 3-4 minutes left. And OKC still seems in control. They hold the lead. Gets to, I think, like 30 seconds left after the Pacers just scored. And they were down by 1. OKC brings up the ball. I thought they were going to go 2 for 1 because they had the ball with like 37 seconds left. And I've stressed this out. I've said it so many times. Why do you not just go 2 for 1? Yes, I know you're trying to get a quality shot, but there's odds that favor you if you just put up a shot. 2 shots are better than 1. So I think OKC should have gone 2 for 1. They didn't. SGA crosses up and has a mid-range, which I thought he should have took. He ends up passing out to Jalen Williams. I think he misses the shot, and the ball's going out of bounds in the corner. Siakam and Wallace dive for it. And immediately watching it live, I said that's a foul on Wallace. He was pushing Siakam out. They end up saying that Siakam just lost it out of bounds. Thunder ball. Pacers obviously challenged, which was the right thing. They still had 2 timeouts and their challenge, which that's another thing. OKC challenged really early in the third, I believe. And it was just a dumb challenge because it wasn't going to help you out that much anyway. I think it was going out of bounds. So the reward of winning the challenge wasn't that high. They still ended up losing it because it was obviously a foul. And that's a whole nother thing. That was bad on the Thunder's coach. But back to the game with like 20 seconds left. So they review it. They say it's out on Siakam, no foul, which I get it because calling it live, you said there was no foul. And looking at it, it's very close. And again, if they had called it a foul, they should have kept it a foul. Because they didn't call it a foul, I get why they just left it, especially in the finals. So, ends up being Thunder ball. SGA has it. This time he doesn't pass it up. He gets a good look, and I thought he had it. Pretty decent look mid-range, misses. Pacers get the ball, about 10 seconds left. I'm saying, and my whole family's saying, timeout, timeout. But they don't, and credit to them. Rick Carlisle trusts his guys, trusts Haliburton. Obi Toppin gets it to Haliburton. Crosses up Wallace, goes to the right. Mid-range, basically almost a 3-pointer, long 2-pointer, rattles in with 0.3 to go. And right at that moment, I was like, they did it again. Haliburton and the Pacers did it again. How many comebacks are they going to have these playoffs? I low-key want the Pacers to win it now just because of this historic. I've never seen anything like this. It's truly amazing. Even as a Thunder fan, I know you're probably very mad at this point, but it's amazing to watch. Like, he hasn't had the best playoff run ever because he's been inconsistent. That's why Siakam won Eastern Conference Finals MVP because he was more consistent. Haliburton had a really bad game. But just how he's been consistent in the clutch, time and time again, against all the odds. That shot against the Knicks, this shot in Game 1, your first ever finals game, on the road against historically one of the best defenses ever, and he hits it. And then Thunder try to do something real quick with 0.3, try to lob it up to tip in, and it doesn't even work. Actually, just side note on that, my antenna was messing up right when they threw the ball in, and I thought we were going to miss something. I didn't even know who they threw it to. I need to watch the highlights. I don't even think it was Chet. Let me know down below if you know, but... And that's the game. Pacers steal one, and we'll get into the ramifications of this series, but just to go over some numbers in the game that I think stick out. Thunder shot 39% from the field. 36% from 3. Not terrible from 3, but 39% from the field. Indiana shot 47 from the field and 46 from 3. They shot really well at the three-point mark. And just the Thunder's offense, besides SGA tonight, was non-existent. Yes, Cruiser had some big-time plays. Dort had some really clutch threes, which I don't think that's going to happen again. So you have to consider that. Interesting also that the Pacers had 56 rebounds in this game compared to the Thunder's 39, which, if you watched the beginning of the game, you did not think it would end up that way. So, what I think, and then obviously the big one, before I get into what I think, 24 turnovers for the Pacers, only 6 for the Thunder. And yet, all that great defense by the Thunder, getting that many turnovers, and still, that shooting 39% of the field it wasn't enough. So let's get into this. I think the Pacers obviously have to feel good about themselves. They stole game 1. Game 2, even if you lose game 2, you're like, okay, we stole one. We did our thing. They played the 10-man rotation, and it worked pretty well. Siakam had a good game, 19 and 10. Haliburton did not have the best game, only 14, but again, clutch when it mattered most. Nembhard, I think, was very important in the fourth because he was the guy getting buckets for them. He had a step-back 3 towards the end of the game, which was really clutch. Toppin had 17 after a slow start. McConnell had 9. Shepherd, Thomas Bryant had 9 in 8 minutes. I don't know if they really need to be playing, but I'm going to, let Rick Carlisle do his thing. That's been working, the 10-man rotation, so they're doing that. Going to this Thunder team, on one hand, you can look at this and say, okay, we were leading for most of the game. We had this game. We let it slip. That won't happen in game 2. You could say that and feel good. But you could also then look at the fact that the Pacers are not going to probably turn over the ball almost 20 times in the first half again. So you have to consider that. And you would assume Haliburton's going to have a better game. And looking at it like that, you're thinking, okay, OKC is in trouble because I think Pacers are going to play a better game, at least till the start of game 2. They're going to have a much better game 2 start than they did game 1. Now that they're settled in and now that they've seen the OKC defense and know what they have to do. But the glimmer of sunshine that the Thunder have is that they've been the best team all year. They know that. They were in control for basically the whole game besides the last second. Pacers, I believe, did not have a lead until the game-winning shot by Haliburton. And then you also look at this, and I think this is the big thing. Jalen Williams only had 17 points. 6 of 19 from the field. He struggled really badly. Chet Holmgren only had 6 points, 2 of 9 from the field. They really struggled. And if you're OKC, you need to look at that and say, okay, yes, we let this one slip up, but Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, they're not going to play like this again. You would hope. But again, I've seen it from the Thunder a couple of times now. SGA is their only consistent offense. Jalen Williams, when he gets going, they're almost unbeatable. But he has not always been there, and it was, again, tonight. If he just had played a little better, they probably would have won. And that's with Lu Dort picking up the slack, having 15 points. Shooting 5 of 9 from 3. Chet Holmgren, 6.6 rebounds. He needs to be better. He needs to be better. Are OKC going to stick with this starting 5? Because they played a very small lineup with Chet Holmgren playing center. They didn't have Isaiah Hartenstein play a lot of the game. I think that was to combat Indiana's pace. But I think it showed up at the end where eventually Pacers were out-rebounded the Thunder because they're bigger. They got Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, a long-rangey guy, Thomas Bryant even. So, thoughts on Game 2? I think Thunder win it because they need to. The problem is if Thunder go out and the Pacers play way better and the Thunder can't figure out the offense, Jalen Williams can't get it going, and they go down 0-2 to the Pacers going back to Indiana, they're in real trouble. Real trouble. But I think they'll settle down. I think they'll figure this one out because they need to. They cannot lose game 2 or it's done. I would go on the record saying it's done. And to end off this video, let's just round of applause for Tyrese Haliburton. He, after being called the most overrated player in the NBA by his peers, he took it personal and has gone absolutely insane. I'm not going to lie, in most of these games where he's gone crazy and had the game winners, game tying shots, whatever, I usually have been rooting for the other team. I wanted the Bucks to move on. I wanted Giannis to not have another first round exit. I was hoping the Cavs would win just because I wanted to see Cavs and Celtics Eastern Conference Final. And then against the Knicks, I really wanted the Knicks to advance, to have the finals back at the Garden. But man, what he's doing is special, and kudos to him, because he's seeing that everyone says he's the most overrated player. Okay, and he's gone out and bang done this. Again, not a great game, and that should be scary for the Thunder in game 2. That the Pacers just beat them, and Haliburton did not have a good game. But all-time, even if they end up losing this series, just all-time memorable playoff run from Tyrese Haliburton. Something we'll remember when we're old and gray, like I said at the beginning, and just amazing to watch. Really fun game to watch. Game 2 is Sunday. I will watch that game. I get off work prior, I think like 4 or 5, so prior to the start of the game at 7 or 7:30. So I'll watch it again. I'll let you know my thoughts on that. Let me know down below what you thought about this game, what you thought about my take on it, what you agree with, disagree with. Let me know down below.